This is the Lebenthal Report with industry veterans Michael Hartzman and Dominick. We'll break down the news, trends, and overall direction of the markets, telling you what may be coming next, investment opportunities, and what to avoid. Now, here are your hosts, Dominick and Michael Hartzman.
All right, I'm Michael Hartzman. Today is Tuesday, April 16th, 2024, and I'm on, as always, with my partner, Dominick. How are you, Dom? Happy day after tax day?
Yeah, I didn't actually pay a lot of attention, but somebody told me. So yeah, it's always a relief to be done with it and move forward. So hopefully yours equally as relief, and now we don't have to think about it for a while.
Was that someone, your accountant, who came knocking on your door? Was that the someone?
Yeah, the normal rule is somebody comes in and says sign here. So I'm sure you get the same call. Well, I don't have the time, energy to deal with that, and that's what they get paid for, Mike. So and we've had a really busy week, as I'm sure we're going to get into. Really very stressful, busy week. Geopolitical events, interest rates. So why don't we jump right into it, Mike?
Oh my God! Let's start with interest rates, and let's start with one of my favorite bugaboos is when good news is bad news. And last week, good news was bad news because we had what the media called a hot jobs market. 100,000 more jobs were created, and somehow, Dominick, that turns out to be not good news. And I know why. I know you're going to calm me down and be very logical about it, but it's just frustrating to me.
It's incredibly frustrating. We had that very good jobs number. Now, when you dig under the surface, maybe it wasn't quite as great as the headline number was. But anytime you're creating jobs, even if they're not the best quality jobs, that's good news. But when you have good news, that's less pressure on the Federal Reserve having to lower interest rates. And that's frustrating, Mike, because they do have a dual mandate, good, strong job growth and low inflation. And let's add into that the bad news last week, with strictly on the economic front for now, is inflation ticked slightly higher.
Yeah, it did.
1/10 of 1%, Mike. And it seemed like literally the sky was falling down. So it's been 3 months. We were expecting it to trend lower for the past 3 months, and it's basically stayed flat, slightly higher. But the markets didn't like either one of those two stories. Interest rates have gone substantially higher so far this year.
Again, I always like to clarify that it's not that the government did anything. We're talking about treasuries.
And the markets, right? So that's a great point, Mike. People are like, well, what is the Fed doing? Nothing.
Nothing.
Fed has been in pause mode on interest rates all year. But the markets have determined in their infinite wisdom, that was sarcasm, Mike, that interest rates need to be higher because the Fed will not be lowering them anytime soon. Those higher interest rates are very, very restrictive on the economy, and stock prices have fallen.
And for context, when inflation ticks a little higher, the job market is better than expected. In theory, that's because the economy is staying stable, right? It's not
even growing.
Right, exactly. It's not shrinking. And I was in my car last week at 8:30 when that economic data came out. My first reaction is, oh, great, more jobs. Oh, crap. Because I knew exactly what the response would be. So my question for you, Dom, does the media need that catnip of lower interest rates or the hope of a lower interest rates? Or do investors need that catnip of lower interest rates?
I think it's investors, right? Now, we can argue the damage that these higher interest rates are doing to the economy. Higher mortgage rates, higher car loan rates, higher credit card rates. This is all damaging to the economy. But the Fed does not want to be too early in lowering those interest rates because they're afraid of rising inflation. So they need to see some period of time, 1, 2, 3 months of inflation coming lower. The market's investors need to see a pattern where the Federal Reserve then can be comfortable with the idea of lowering rates. And then the markets will be very comfortable in bringing interest rates back down to a more reasonable number.
Right. And I do agree that, 3 months is a little bit of a pattern, right? So a pattern is forming, and obviously I understand the anxiety about that. And Jerome Powell and his minions have been very, very clear I agree with you that the Fed has a dual mandate, but I think it's one and two, not one and one A. And inflation, I think at the moment, Dom, tell me if you disagree, is still number one and getting it under control.
Yeah, I think you're right on that, Mike, 100%. I think even though they're supposed to be equal mandates, I think the Fed has their eye on inflation first, willing to sacrifice the employment numbers a little bit, i.e., that means unemployment going higher for a little bit. I think they are willing to let the economy take a little pain if they can crush inflation. But I want to stress, Mike, and I want to bring the question back to you. The 10-year Treasury started the year just 3 months ago, 3.5 months ago, yielding 3.8%. Today, it hit almost 4.7. That's almost a 1% increase. That's almost a 25% increase in interest rates without the Fed doing anything. What do you think that is going to do to the economy, Mike?
Well, 2 weeks ago, you asked me what I thought it would do to the market, and I said to you that I thought it would crush the market, and it didn't, right? So what do I think what it's going to do to the economy? It's supposed to slow it down a bit, and it apparently still hasn't. So this rise in interest rates, I think what you're saying is been baked into the cake a little bit all year long, where this is not really much of a surprise. The bond market, to me, sounds like they've been anticipating this for a while.
Yeah, I would say, the old adage is that the bond market is right and the stock market not so much. I have a feeling this time it might be the reverse. The economy is healthy, it's growing, not dramatically, but the bond market, I think, is overreacting a little bit. I really do. I think interest rates will be lower by year end.
Well, okay, I agree with you, but I think the bond market's overreacting and we beat this topic to death, because the bond market had an unrealistic expectation that the Feds were going to start lowering rates in March. And you and I always thought that was an unreasonable expectation. And this is a result of that.
And added to that, Mike, 5, 6 cuts this year. And I think the market is now in the 2, maybe 3 camp, with many of the experts saying no cuts at all. So I think the realization that perhaps this is just going to be higher for longer is starting to take some kind of footing with investors.
So, I love to quote Yogi Berra, as you know, this is kind of deja vu all over again in reverse. Because in 2022, we went from, they're going to take their time, they're hardly going to cut rates. So all of a sudden, they were going to cut 6 times, and 4 of them were going to be 50 basis points. So I almost feel like we're reliving 2022 in an opposite world.
And agreed. And I would remind everybody that we had the same kind of tone and the 10-year Treasury yielding almost exactly the same last October. And then we had a very dramatic drop in interest rates in November and December. And we had the market pop in the last 6, 8 weeks of the year to give us very respectable returns. So this thing could change on a dime. We just kind of have to be ready for it.
And just real quick before we get into our guest tonight, again, the quarter has been a rough start. The S&P's down 2.5, the Nasdaq's down about 1.5, but both indices as of Friday, Dom, were still up almost 8%. Still, just a touch under 8%.
Yeah, and
So
we've gotten to a rough start so far this week, so those numbers are a little bit closer to 6%, but that's still pretty good
yeah,
return, Mike, for the first quarter plus 2 weeks of the year. And I do think that, we have and historically we go through a little bit of a bumpy period around this time of the year. So we could see a little bit more of a pullback. But I've said many times, Mike, I haven't really changed my mood about it. I still see this as a buying opportunity, not a selling opportunity.
Dom, tonight's guest is Wendy Jones, the founder and CEO of Next Step for Seniors. So we've covered the senior topic a lot. Obviously, we have clients who live in that space, who are retired, who are or dealing with elderly parents. So Wendy is in Michigan, and she's basically built this business helping to guide seniors and their children on this journey as they either need nursing home care, elder care, hospice care, all the different twists and turns that seniors and their and families encounter as they age. So we're looking forward to Wendy, and she's a fellow podcaster. She's a fellow host on Voice America. Her show is called Next Step for Seniors. It's on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. And we will be right back with Wendy Jones. All right, I'm Michael Hartzman, back with my partner Dominick Tavella and our guest this evening, Wendy Jones, the founder and CEO of Next Steps for Seniors, an organization devoted to all the topics I said before the break, just guiding seniors and their family members through this journey. I guess not necessarily their end of life journey, but perhaps the last roundup, if you will. So what motivated you, Wendy, or what guided you to start this company?
Well, thank you, Michael, first of all, for having me. And Dominick, I appreciate the opportunity. I really saw a need, I think, more than anything. I've been in the healthcare industry for quite a few years, not to say exactly how many, over 20. And, I saw the need, honestly, and families are confused. There's a lot of things that happen when you run into a situation with a loved one in the hospital or who falls or a spouse who passes away. And all of a sudden, people are left wondering what they do. So I created Next Steps for Seniors. It's 12 years old now. I'm very blessed to be able to educate really families and advocate for seniors and really promote independence as long as possible, but educate people on what the next steps are. No pun on words, because my podcast is Next Steps for Seniors. But yeah, I mean, we all need to talk about this stuff, but I saw a need, and I'm telling you, I had way too much knowledge not to share it with everybody.
So, Wendy, obviously, this is a really amazingly important subject. And what I find strange is that it's a really difficult subject for kids to have with their parents or parents to have with their kids. And so I find myself, and I know Mike is in the same boat as I am, where we act as intermediaries. Why is it such a hard subject for people to sit around and talk about and plan?
Nobody wants to think about it, to be quite honest. And that's why I started the podcast, because you got to have these conversations. And I'll be honest, Dominick, it's best to have them before something happens, before you're not able to walk, before, anything tragic might come into your life. So the earlier, the better. Really, talk to your parents while they're both super healthy and they're riding bikes. Say, hey, let's talk about this right now. Do you want to stay home forever? And if you do, private duty home care is $33 to $35 an hour. So we need to make sure you have enough money to pay for that, because you can stay home. You just got to be prepared to pay for it and to have someone help you if you need to. Right?
When Wendy, Dominick is right. We deal, primarily with children and have these difficult conversations, but we've also had difficult conversations with spouses. And frequently it's also around Dominick and I getting the impression that one of our clients' memory is failing, or maybe it's dementia, maybe it's Alzheimer's. And
Yeah.
I've had conversations with a spouse and saying, hey, is Joe okay? Because he's called me 4 days in a row and he's literally asked me the same question. And I'm happy to answer it, but that's not like Joe. And then the answer is, oh, he's fine. He's fine.
Yep.
So, you know, I think it's all important, but then dementia, I think sometimes could be in a class by itself.
Yeah, I agree with you. So some of the things that I think we all need to know is that we all try to pretend and we cover up and we get really, really good at covering up, and spouses are the best at it. Okay, in any situation. So the important thing to know about dementia is if you catch it early, I mean, MCI is what the initial stage is called MCI, which is mild cognitive impairment. If you are having a lot of difficulty with recall on words, that's the first thing that you're going to notice when you have mild cognitive impairment. Some of the other things might be remembering if you took your meds, remembering if you had breakfast, did you eat, and then you're like, I can't remember. So then you start with sticky notes. Don't forget to eat in the morning. Don't forget to take your meds. So the first indication is if you have to have notes all over your house and it's a real thing, that's MCI. You've already started. And the sooner you can get on some medications, supplements, whatever your belief system is, the better you're going to be for a longer period of time. So getting support, and that's why we're here today, really, is I want to talk to you about getting support around your loved ones sooner. Making decisions and having conversations while you can is so critical, because the day may come when you really don't know what they want. You could be married to them for 60 years and never talk about it. And then all of a sudden when it happens, you're like, I don't know what my wife wants. I don't know what my husband wants. But if you would talk about it ahead of time and say, listen, this is what I really want for my end of years. I mean, and just be transparent and then plan for it. And that's why you both are so important, because you got to plan financially. Everybody thinks it's covered under insurance. Medicare does not cover long-term care planning. It does not cover assisted living, independent living. You got to plan for it. It's private pay, out of pocket.
So Wendy, kind of asking the loaded question, but how do we break the ice? Whether it's a client for us, hey Joe, we're picking on Joe tonight, but I'm noticing some things as a child going, Mom, Dad, is everything okay? How do we break that ice? Because it's obviously a difficult conversation to have with people.
It is a hard it's a tough topic. It's a hard topic. I think some of the best ways is what we're doing right now. Say, hey, I just listened to this program, right? And they mentioned that we should start the conversation sooner. So I'm just going to throw it out there. Like, how are you feeling? Are you remembering? Put a accountability partner, right? Assign accountability partner. So right now, Michael and Dominick, maybe you're accountability partners, okay? I have an accountability partner. Nobody knows who it is, but I have one. So, and then we have a coach. What's that?
Do they know?
They know that my friend knows and I know, but because you
Mike, I can't remember who mine is.
But if you have an account, this is what I'm doing.
Oh, that's a great idea. Honestly, I like that.
Listen, this is just an idea. And I, like I said, I came up with it all on my own because I was like, how do I know?
Right.
How do I know? Well, my best friend, if she can't tell me, then we got a bigger problem, right? And we have a code word for it. And when she says it, I'm going to be like, oh, shoot, I know what that means, right? So you're going to have a lot of time. The good news about this disease, if we're talking just the memory component, it could last 20 years. So, and it starts way before we even notice symptoms. So to be honest, that's my first, I guess that would be my first one, is have an accountability partner. Somebody that you can say, hey, when you see me doing this, this, and this, I need to know from you. Not from my spouse, not from anybody else, right?
It's a great idea. Really
ahead of time. That's why I say have these conversations ahead of time. And please don't do it. Okay, two things. And I'm glad you asked that question, Dominick. If you've got a couple sitting in your office, right? Husband and wife, the one thing you don't do is say it in front of both of them, right? You're like, You walk the husband out and you say, I just want to talk to you briefly about your wife. You know, she's called the office 5 times in one day. I'm concerned, you know, and they might break down and just be real with you, because the reality is at some point they have to be real with somebody. We can't pretend, because all you're doing is making your life harder.
You're right. So Wendy, a family member is going through this process and they feel alone, they don't know where to begin, and they call you. Someone gives them Wendy Jones's name. Walk us through what happens next. Like, where do you get started, and what's your role?
Okay, so we do an intake every time the phone rings. You can go through the website submission form, but people like to talk on the phone. We like to be personal with our clients, as you do too, I know. So we do an intake form, and basically you want good information. So this is good for your clients to know, because you should know this about your loved ones, your parents, how much income they have coming in from pension, from Social Security. If I could tell you how many children have called my office and they have absolutely no idea what their parents get in Social Security and pension, not even a clue. They don't know if they get 10,000 a month or if they get 2,000 a month. So you got to know that information. You got to know basic information like date of birth, like diagnosis. Have they ever been diagnosed with anything, whether diabetes, congestive heart failure, any diagnosis in their lifetime? There's a lot of seniors as we age that are on medications. You need to have an idea. Are they on 10 medications or are they on 2? And honestly, this is good information just for everybody to know about their loved ones. I have in my phone the whole list of meds that both my mom and my dad are on. Because if anything were to happen to them and they're out of state, somebody calls me, I can flip that open and know exactly what meds they're on to tell them. So, that's something I think is important to know about anybody. But these are the questions that we ask, right? Were they a veteran? There are benefits that veterans get. And we need to know, do you know where the DD-214 is? Because you need to have that. You need to have proof. And a lot of times people are like, what's that? And I have no idea where it is. Well, I can tell everybody right now who's listening to this, if you have a veteran in your life, know where that is and get your hands on it. Because when the time comes and you need it, it's going to help you in a lot of different ways.
What is that? Was that their discharge papers? Is that their proof of service? What is that?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what they give to you.
Okay.
And financially, it's a great asset. For funerals, it's a great asset. It's just, there's so many benefits you can get from that, which is a whole nother show. But but the intake process is important. We want to get as much information as we can about the situation. Are they in the hospital? Where are they currently at? So, and then our team steps in, like into action. We have a whole team of people, nurses, social workers, and we work really close with the family to give resources and information. People do not realize how many resources are out there, good resources and good information. And that's what we try to do. And we actually walk them through the entire process. Sometimes they have to go to subacute rehab from the hospital. Sometimes they need to go to assisted living, and we can help them find the best one for their loved ones. That's what we're there for. We're walking alongside every step. Sometimes they need hospice. We got hospice companies. We have relationships with all these different options, and we can help connect them. It's like you make one phone call and everything happens for you, instead of having to call all these different people to find the right person to talk to.
When I just want to give you a thumbs up, they don't share the information with their children. Both myself and Mike are blessed. We have multiple generation clients, the grandparents, the parents, the kids, the grandkids. They will not disclose to their own children what their income is, what their assets are, what their revenue looks like. They will not know, but it's none of their business. And even though we have some latitude these days, the regulators have given us some latitude about what we're allowed to share. We sometimes are handcuffed by these people. We have to get them to open up about this. And it's so critical. Everything you just brought up, it's so critically important that they open up about it.
It really is. Why not be transparent? I mean, obviously, there's a time and a place. But if you're aging and you're up there in years, well, first of all, you can't take it with you. We all know that, right? So why not start sharing some of it? And there are some signs, which you guys probably know. People start spending more money when they know their time is near. You know, people start doing their actions start speaking out. But it's important to really understand how much they have and what you have to work with, because it is not cheap. And I'm sure we're going to get into this in the next segment, but how much it costs to care for yourself as you age.
That is a perfect place to take a break, because on the other side of the break, we will talk about the cost of it. And also, Wendy, on what we want to ask you about the documents that everyone should have, whether it's a power of attorney. Well, I know you're not a lawyer. I know you're not going to advise on trusts, but there are certain obvious documents we all look for in helping our clients. So we'll get into all of that after a quick break. All right, I'm Michael Hartzman, back with my partner Dominick Tavella, and our guest this evening, Wendy Jones, the founder and CEO of Next Steps for Seniors. So, Wendy, Dominick and I adopted the practice a couple of years ago of having a trusted contact for our clients. So if we get a call, we'll pick on Joe again. You know, Joe is not well. We have no way of knowing that. And out of the clear blue sky, we get a call from his sister, his daughter-in-law, Mary. We can't talk to Mary unless Mary's that trusted contact, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's always the first step for us. But when you're doing this intake for your clients, I'm sure a part of it is, you know, what documentation do you have? What ability do you have to call, Chase Bank and say, I need to act on my parents' behalf? I'm sure you need to know all that, do you not?
No, absolutely. And it's interesting you said that, because on that intake, the probably number 2 question after how to contact them is, who's the power of attorney?
Mm-hmm.
And that's because, and you'd be shocked how many people don't have a power of attorney. I'm sure most of your clients do. But
So
it's
Wendy, take 1 minute and just explain what that is. And I agree with you 100%, but just explain to our viewers what that actually is.
So it's a POA, or power of attorney. And basically, in your lifetime, while you're alive, if you ever get to a point that you cannot make your own decisions, whether it's,
Financial,
go ahead.
financial decisions.
Financial or medical decisions, because you have both, power of attorney for financial and medical. But if you can't make decisions for yourself, you need to have a trusted person that you trust to make the decisions that you probably would make, right? That will be advocate on your behalf. And I can tell you an example right now. I have a lady who doesn't have any children and isn't married, and is at a point right now that she should be going into an assisted living, and nobody's there to help her. She's like, I don't know what to do. So we're actually advocating now to get her a guardian. So she can't make the decision. She's not in a position to make the decision, but she needs to go into assisted living. Everybody knows it around her, but nobody has the ability to do it because she never got those papers. So I think it's really important. And power of attorney is for when you're alive, not after you pass. Everybody thinks, oh yeah, they can make all the decisions after I'm gone. Oh, no, no, no. These are decisions while you're alive, and you can't make them. But there's a test, like literally you have to be of sound mind to make them. And this poor lady did not pass the test. She's not of sound mind. She can't make her own decisions. Stuck.
So Wendy, if one of our clients call you, what does this cost for your consultation and for your work?
Michael, great question. Thank you for asking that. So our services are free of charge. And they're free because we refer a lot of people to what we believe are the best resources, because we vet every single place, every single person, every company, and our sources will actually be very happy to compensate us.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to. They're the ones with the deep pockets. So we want to be able to support you and give you a service for free. We don't want you to have to write a check. We don't want you to look at your clock and say, how long have I been talking? Because I'm not going to be able to talk anymore because I don't want to pay this bill. So don't worry about the cost. And that's why we set up our business model that way, because we know that we want to be able to help and advocate for our families and our seniors and not have them have to worry about the money.
And when is it state-based, regional-based, country, the whole U.S.?
So right now, the podcast is nationwide. Next Steps for Seniors, Conversations on Aging, and we talk about all this stuff that we're talking about right now. The business is in Michigan right now, but we do partner with some other states, with companies that do something similar to what I do. So we're trying to grow slowly but surely, but I don't want to become too big. I want to make sure that my clients get the care that they need.
So
All right, so going
Wendy,
back, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, Dom, go ahead.
Just going back to your leftover power of attorney, which I couldn't agree with you more. Again, that document is really important because it lets whoever that has that power of attorney talk to us, ask us questions, look at accounts. What's the next thing we should have? What's the next document we should have lined up?
I'm thinking you're thinking something too. What are you thinking, Dominick?
I generally would prefer they at least have a healthcare proxy. I know it sounds kind of obvious, but you get into that place where you may or may not survive, but you certainly want your wishes. And, we have a society today that says, you know what, you don't want to live forever and you don't want to be hooked up to a machine. But I've had people go, no, I do. I want everything on the planet.
Oh,
So
no, for
I'm
sure.
not here to judge you, but if that's what you want, you better put it in writing, right? So I
Right.
think that's a document I'd like to see people have completed.
So we call that, over here, the advanced care directives.
Okay.
So depending on what state you're in, and most of the time, your PCP, your primary care physician, should be asking you, do you have advanced care directives? Do you have something lined up that that you want to happen as you age, or as, you're not able to make those decisions and stuff? But advanced care directives are huge because there are people that do not want to be on a feeding tube. Absolutely. Do not keep me alive. If I am on my way out, I do not want to be in a feeding tube. I would want everybody to know that, right? And
And they
those are the
don't
questions.
share that information with their family. It's amazing, right, Mike? I'm sure you've encountered this many times in your practice.
Look, you just brought back a flashback for me. I remember going to see my mother in the hospital, and I didn't think she was dying at the time. And I walk in and she has a bracelet that says DNR, which means do not resuscitate, obviously. And I said to the aide, who made this decision?
Mm-hmm.
And my mother perks up and said, I did. And honestly, in a million years, I would never imagine my
That she
mother
would make
wearing that bracelet. It was stunning to me that that's the decision she made.
But the
And
shocking part, Mike never discussed it with you.
right,
That's my point.
Shocking.
Yep. Another big one, I'll be honest with you guys, is people that want to be cremated. It's on the rise. And if you don't say what you want, I guarantee your family's going to do whatever they want to do. So like these are things, I mean, you just want to communicate. It's not that hard. And there are forms, there's a book, there's a whole bunch of tools out there that you can utilize to have these conversations with your loved ones.
And Wendy, I don't know how often you encounter this, but I'm starting again on the rise where people are prepaying their funerals for that very reason. No, I'm not having you go spend $1 million on my funeral. I've already ordered it. This is exactly what I'm getting. This is exactly what I'm paying, and don't change it. Don't screw it up.
Honestly, I just did a podcast on funeral services and I was shocked, actually. I'll tell you this because I learned it. After you pass, and let's say you want to be cremated after you pass, your family can trump that. Whoever the next of kin is has the decision. POA is no longer active. The next of kin has the ability to say, you know what? I need a funeral, so I'm going to have one for my mom. I did not know that until last week. And I was like, really? I mean, they're already gone. The funeral's for the family. It's for the people that are left behind. Let's be real, right? So whatever they need to experience closure and all that. So yes, I do think pre-planning is on the rise just for that reason though, because they want a funeral. And if it's already paid for, the family would be silly not to do it that way, obviously.
And
But
from
that's
a,
why you have the discussions.
and my understanding is from a financial point of view, if your death is 10 years later, that you paid for it, it's locked in, that's it. You pay that price you paid 10 years earlier. So from a financial point of view, that's how Dom and I are wired. It probably makes sense to prepay your funeral.
It absolutely makes sense. And I think only maybe 35 to 40% of the people do. Not even that much, to be honest.
So getting back to the living, right? Who
Mhm.
who do you get that call from the most? I mean, who typically steps up and says, "We got a problem"? Is it a child? Is it a spouse? Is it an aide? Is it a lawyer?
It's usually the oldest child
Okay.
or the girl, if it's all
Well,
family of boys, just being honest. No,
understood.
no, honestly, it depends on the situation. So, the children, I would say, would be the highest number of people that contact us. It would be a child. Very rarely is it a lawyer or someone like that. We do get calls from Adult Protective Services a lot, unfortunately, because children are uninvolved. I just want to encourage children to pay attention to your loved ones. You may not realize they're not doing as well, and they call the state on them, really, and it's sad. But yes, I think children are the number one people who the buck stops with, right?
Mhm.
So if dad's already passed and mom's in the hospital and that hospital doesn't know who to contact and there's no power of attorney, they just start going through the list of people they find in their system to correlated with that person. I've had people in the hospital for weeks that no one even knew. I mean, this is why communication is so important.
So let's take a minute. Living, but people say, I want to be in my home. And then, of course, there's people that have no choice. They go into a facility. Let's look at the budget for staying in your home versus budget in a facility. And we have both of those kind of clients.
Mhm.
Neither one is cheap. Neither one.
No, they are not at all. I'm glad we have some financial guys on the call with us because I'm going to throw out some numbers. So if you want to stay home, having somebody come to your home to care for you, and again, different price for different states. I'm going to go with an average of $35 an hour, probably a little more in New York. 24 hours a day. How much is that a day? Times 30 days. I mean, a month is how much? You guys probably have an idea. It's over $20,000.
Yeah, easily.
I mean, so we're talking serious, lots of money, right? And that's per month just to stay home. And that's again 24-hour care. That's if you're getting up every night, you need someone and nights are the scariest, to be honest, when you stay home. That's when the falls happen. Going to the bathroom is where falls happen. Being in the shower alone is when falls happen. So you want to start slow, but maybe you have someone 4 hours a day, then you increase it to 8 hours a day, but you can stay home. If you planned and you have the funds, God bless you. The only thing I want to say about staying home, there's something very unique about socialization and being with people that are in the same situation as you. So if you go into an independent living, which is you've got meals provided, you've got housekeeping, you've got your own place, but you have a little button you can push when you need help. That environment is probably only $3,500 a month, maybe $4,000. So
Well,
significantly,
Wendy, I don't want to contradict you, but not on Long Island.
Not in New
okay,
York.
independent, not assisted.
Oh,
Oh,
I
you're
see.
correct. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Assisted is like
Oh, you're
10.
right. You're right.
You're right. Gotcha.
Okay. Independent, you're walking, you're talking, you're doing everything on your own. You're probably even taking your own meds, right? You just need meals, housekeeping, someone to keep an eye on you a little bit. This is very first stage.
Gotcha.
Okay. And it would be equivalent to maybe having someone, 4 hours every other day at your
Mhm.
house, something like
Mhm.
that, right? So like that's the comparative. Now, assisted living, where you have an RN on staff, you need help getting to the bathroom, you need somebody helping you eat, giving you your medications, double that number plus. So I agree with you. Assisted living is way more expensive, $8,000 to $10,000 minimum a
So,
month.
so Wendy, let's get into that a little bit because I've had many, many clients say to me, "Oh, when I just get old, I'm just going to go into assisted living and Medicaid's going to pay for it." There's this misconception. So let's talk about the functions of daily living. I always tell my clients, just think about what you're doing the first hour you get up, because
Right.
you're doing most of them in those 60 minutes. But could you get into that a little bit? I know you're in Michigan, but I guess the ADL is pretty much the same nationwide.
Oh, for sure. I mean, mobility is a big one, bathing is a big one, feeding is a big one. Basically, when you think of what you're doing every day, do you need help in the shower? Bathing is huge. It's where falls happen. So, yeah, do you have 7 ADLs? We basically have seven. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So,
it's transferring, bathing, eating, getting dressed, be able to pull a shirt over your head. Yeah, those, I mean, there's 7 of them. I just probably banged out 5 of them, but yeah.
yeah, dressing and grooming is usually the first thing you notice. If someone's got their clothes on backwards or the same clothes every single day, these are things to start paying attention to. Hygiene is
Preparing a
huge.
meal,
Hygiene is huge.
yeah.
Yeah.
But when you're
Um,
following up on Mike's point, oh, the government's going to pay for it. Medicare is going to pay for it, right? I'm covered. Maybe we need to give them a reality check here.
yeah, reality check is you need to qualify physically and financially if you want Medicaid. That is designed for a low income program, very low income program. And if you have too much in the bank and you get too much a month, good luck.
So
And
the average person, certainly our clients, is not going to qualify for Medicaid.
mm-mm,
So that
Un-
means they're going to drain down their buckets, their
they're savings.
IRA, personal investment portfolios, whatever assets they have.
Mm-hmm.
unless Dom, it's the point Wendy made earlier. They start doing that planning very, very early when they're healthy and able to ride a bike and go on vacation. So there are mechanisms, trusts they could do, but you're right. A lot of them, they wait to the very last second and say, "Well, I'm gonna move my house into my kid's name and do a Medicaid application next week." It doesn't work that way, right? Right, Wendy?
No, you've got a look back period. Don't think that the state and the government haven't already thought of all the little games that you can play. So there's a look back period. It's at least 5 years here in Michigan for
It's
Medicaid.
same here.
Yeah. So if they see you transferring money or gifting money, how about that one to your kids? I'm sure you guys see that a lot. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, I want Medicaid. And they're like, okay, well, go get that money back. And I had this happen. Well, go get the money back you gave your son and your daughter 2 years ago. And they're like, how'd you know about that?
Look, everybody thinks it's really complicated. Everything we do live is electronic. It usually shows up on your tax return. Doesn't take even the government, doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out exactly what your assets look like. It really doesn't.
Yeah, it's really important to understand you have to qualify for all those programs. And the best thing, honestly, is to plan ahead. Live your life, obviously, enjoy your retirement, but don't spend every single dime unless you want to be on Medicaid in a nursing home to end your life. And I don't know anybody that wants to do that, right? Like we want to be in a loving, amazing environment as we pass, not in a nursing home if we have the ability to avoid it. So, but we got to be smart. And that's why you both are here. They're blessed to have you.
Thank you. And Wendy, Dominic and I have our business cards stapled to hundreds of files that say, "When I'm dead, call this guy." And right, Dom, how many times have you heard?
I have people that walk in with folders and they go, Mom, Dad said, call you. You know everything. And again, this
Exactly.
comes back to this
They
thought that they don't want to share, but at least we're grateful they share the business card, right, Mike? But
exactly.
but
So
when do they do? I swear. I've been hearing about you for 30 years. Okay, well, you should have called me 29 years ago. But okay, it is what it is. But
right.
I just want to stress, I like doing this, Wendy. I apologize. You need to plan early. You cannot wait until you're sick. You cannot wait until something has happened to you and then go, oh, I really want to do something about this. It's too late. Normally, it's too late.
Yep. And that's why I brought up the When I'm Dead folder, Wendy. So, when you have that conversation, are you subtle about it? Are you a jackhammer about it? How do you go about those conversations?
No, I just like Dominic just did, honestly. And when someone says, I don't have a power attorney, I said, can I tell you something? I need you to hang up this phone with me right now, and I need you to get a power of attorney because I can't even talk to you. Honestly, that's how important this document is. And
Mhm.
I just lay it out. And I'm telling you right now, if you want to go buy a new car and you want to get a new house and then I need to know that you have enough to pay $10,000 a month for a minimum of 4, maybe 3 years for you and your spouse. Now you tell me you have that, then okay, then you can buy a car. I mean, I just let them have it because
Mhm.
that's good. 75% of people need care in their lifetime. That's the number. 75%. That's a lot of people that need some kind of care. Maybe it's someone coming into the house, maybe it's going to a community, a senior living community, but you're going to need help. That's a big number, and that's private pay money that you have to be prepared to pay. Unless you get a
Again, with
long-term
a
care
little
insurance.
planning, that can be offset at least and maybe taken care of, right?
And I'll tell you about 5%, maybe 10 of the people that call our office say, "Oh, I have a long-term care insurance policy," when they call. And then I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Let's talk about which one you have, how much we have to spend." You just saved yourself a decision because a lot of people are like, give me your least expensive place that you have because that's all I can afford.
So, Wendy, speaking of advocacy, Dominic and I frequently will go to bat for a client who's trying to get long-term care claim for their spouse or for their parents. We didn't
Mhm.
sell the policy, but with their financial advisor now, it's unbelievably frustrating to work with an insurance company and get them to get a claim processed and get a claim paid. Are there advocacy groups that work with policyholders to get insurance claims done quicker? Because I think it's abusive, honestly, the way these insurance companies behave. They wait for their
After all
policyholders
the
to die.
premiums paid and increase in those premiums over the last decade or two, it's pretty outrageous then when it comes time to collecting on these claims.
Well, and they also do I don't know if you've noticed this, but it's on the big birthdays, like 80, for example.
Hmm.
Huge
Hmm.
jump in your premium.
Hmm.
This is how it works. It's sad. There are I wish I was a specialist on this. Obviously, I'm not an insurance agent, but I can tell you there are some really good policies, and then there are some policies that I would run from. I mean, you always got to look if they have home care included, because a lot of people want to start with that. You always have to look at how long it goes. I'm telling you guys, 4 years, 5 years tops. I mean, people think they're going to live for 20. The average time in assisted living is 2.5 years.
I
That
didn't
means
even think it was that long, Wendy. I thought it was
it,
shorter than that.
yeah, it's probably closer to 2. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so it's not I say 2.5 because I want everyone to plan a little bit longer, but
Uh-huh.
but right. So you don't
Well,
have
that's a great point. I actually knew it was under 3 years. So when we're doing the planning for the client, we want to make sure they have X number of dollars sitting outside in their control to make sure we can pay for a facility for at least 3 years, right? Thinking
right.
also they might be collecting a social security check, they might be collecting a pension check, but this clients that walk in, and I want to move everything into a trust and from protect my children. We need to protect you
You
first. It's your money. You grew it, you earned it, you saved it, and the kids are going to inherit plenty.
And I need to add one more thing to that because you bring up a great point. The kids, when all the families think their kids are going to be there for them, they're going to be the ones, bringing them food and wiping their butt and taking care of them. Guess what? Those kids got families and kids and jobs, and they might not have that time to do what you think they're going to do. So you better keep some of those funds so you can hire a caregiver to help you when your kid's not there when you thought they were going to be. I mean, of course, we want them to be there, but it depends how long and how much time. And I mean, there's so many things that we don't know as we age. We just don't know. So you have to be prepared.
And the other uncomfortable conversation we have to have when we talk about preparation is sometimes I've been in a room with a husband and a wife, and the wife will say to me, he's incapable of taking care of me. So, he's not going to do those things you just said. He's not going to bathe me. He's not going to clean up after me. So I need to make sure that I'm protected because he loves me, but
He's not going to
he's
do that.
not wired that way.
Well, you know what? Good for them because they already had the conversation and she
Right.
already knows this. So now she's planning.
Right.
Yeah, I like that. I'm glad she's thinking about it. Yeah. And
So when do we about, go ahead, Dom, you have one more question?
No, go ahead, Mike. I interrupted you quite a few times tonight. I'll give you an opportunity.
That's all right. I'm not keeping score, but thank you. Wendy, how do people find you? I know you're primarily in Michigan, but if any of our listeners have any
They can call.
questions, tell us about your podcast and tell us how people could find you.
Okay, so we're on every platform, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, Spotify, your favorite podcast platform. You can just type in Next Steps #4 Seniors, and Conversations on Aging is what we have every single week. So I love it. I think it's fantastic. I think it's important. You can also go on our website at nextsteps4seniors.com, or you can contact us by phone. Our phones are answered 24/7, 248-651-5010. I have no problem anybody calling, asking questions. We're here for you. We want to make your life easier. Life is going to be amazing as we age if you're prepared. So let's embrace it. Let's enjoy it. Let's just really, enjoy life. Like, don't be fearful of it. When you're educated and you plan for it, you don't need to fear it. You can embrace it.
Great
Wendy,
advice.
thank you for a lively conversation and informative.
Thank you
Wendy.
both. Appreciate it.
stuff.
It's a pleasure being here today.
We will be back next week with a new broadcast of the Lebenthal Report. Have a good night, everybody.
Night all.